All right, thanks, guys. Happy Thursday to you. A little bit after lunchtime here on the East Coast, and we did improve to 5-1 straight up in our last six Underdog tier package picks on patreon.com/Brock page yesterday, and that's good for 83% during that short span. And of course, that's a website that I operate that gives you premium daily sports picks beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We're also 8-2 straight up in our last 10 plays in that same category. Good for 80% during that stretch as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But before we go ahead and move on, let's take a look at some Belarusian Vysshaya Liga soccer action out of Belarus. And we're going to start with FK Sluts squaring off against energetic BGU in a 10 a.m. Eastern start time. Sluts are the plus money favorites at plus 120, and the total at 2.5 juice to the under. Right now the draw is plus 225, and if you like energetic in an upset, they're plus 225 on the money line and minus $1.20 catching the half goal. And speaking of energetic, they've dropped 3 out of their last 4 matches, including an embarrassing 3-0 shutout to Neiman Grodno during that span. They were also shut out 1-0 to Gorodea and 2-0 to Torpedo Belaz Jodinho during that stretch of games as well. With those contests in mind, Energetics scored just 2 total goals in their last 4 outings. Now Sluts on the other side, they are currently in first place in Vysshaya Liga with 16 total points. They're coming fresh off a 2-1 victory over Dynamo Minsk and a 3-2 victory over Belshina. Sluts haven't lost a game in their last 5 straight, and posted a record of 5-1-1 thus far on the season. Sluts also lead the entire division in goals scored with 14. Now total-wise, Sluts' last 2 straight got over the total of 2.5 goals. 4 out of their last 5 also got over that number as well. Might not be too bad of a spot here for over-bettors. And overall, I think there's incredible value in the price here. Give me FK Sluts plus 120, getting the job done for some plus money cash and the over 2.5 in that contest. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Friday's soccer action. And before we go ahead and move on with the program, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/Brock page, where once again we improved to 5-1 straight up in our last 6 dog of the day tier package plays yesterday on that Patreon website, and that's good for 83% in that span. We're also 8-2 straight up in our last 10 underdog tier package plays in that same category, and that's good for 80% in that category as well. That's a very good package for us right now. We do daily premium sports picks on that website, beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We also have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. We currently have over 525 members signed up and active on that page. We'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. Now you might be wondering, why would all those folks sign up to receive Patreon picks where they can get them right here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great point, a great concern. But there is a big problem with me handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the problem is this: if you were to bet every single game that's on the board that I put out here on YouTube, side and total, you're almost guaranteeing yourself failure. And I know that sounds weird, but you got to hear me out. If you're going to bet every single game that's on the slate with your hard-earned money, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. They have a whole lot more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that kind of action. And most important, the math becomes aggressively against you the more and more games you play like that. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. And these selections, they are high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game that is on the board, side and total. And the good news is this: If you want to go ahead and check out my current Patreon record, you actually have access to that right now. You can do that for free at this moment. It's located right on the homepage. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. And once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. Bless you. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Gordea taking on FC Minx and a 12 p.m. Eastern start time. Minx are the plus money favorite at plus 160, with the total at 2 juice to the over. Right now, the draw is plus 210, and if you like Gordea in an upset, they're plus $1.85 on the money line and minus 105 on the goal line. And speaking of Gordea, they've won 3 out of their last 5, with all those victories coming by way of shutout. They shut out Energetic, Dynamo Minx, and Vysshaya during that span. They gave up just 3 total goals in their last 5 games as well, along with being 1 point ahead of FC Minx in the standings. And speaking of Minx, they're coming off a pretty embarrassing 5-2 loss at the hands of Torpedo Belarus Jodinho in their last outing. They've also dropped 2 out of their last 3, including a 1-0 shutout loss to Rook Brest during that span as well. Their 1-4 record in their last 5 is good for just 20% during that short stretch. They've also given up 15 total goals on the season, which ranks dead last in the 16-team Vysshaya League in that category. Now, total-wise, Minx's last 2 straight got over the total of 2 goals. Just 1 out of their last 7 actually stayed under that total as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, both of Gordea's last 2 contests did not stay under the total of 2 goals either. Might not be too bad of a spot to fire on the over. Give me this Underdog Gordea squad, plus 185, and the over 2 goals in that match. All right, next contest. This is in the Reserve League, and it's going to be Neiman Grodno Reserves taking on Rook Brest Reserves in a 6 a.m. start time. Grodno's minus 165, totals 3.5, draws plus 325. And if you like Rook Brest in an upset here, they're plus 330 on the money line and minus 105 catching the goal on the goal line. And speaking of Brest, they're coming fresh off an impressive 2-0 shutout victory over Gordea in their last outing. They've also been victorious in 2 out of their last 3, including another multiple goal victory, this time over FC Minx 3-1. Their 5-1 record in their last 6 contests is good for a win percentage of .833 during that stretch. They also gave up a total of just 4 goals in those 6 matchups. Now, Grodno on the other side did fail to get the W in 2 out of their last 5, including a humiliating 5-0 loss to Dynamo Minx during that stretch. They also played Shakhtar Soligorsk to a 1-1 tie during those contests as well. Now, total-wise, Grodno's last 2 straight stayed under the total of 3.5 goals. Rook Brest, on the other side, is coming off a contest that stayed well under that number as well. Might not be too bad of a spot here for an underplay. Give me Rook Brest plus 1, getting the job done on the goal line, and the under 3.5 in that contest. Next and final matchup, we're going to stay in the Reserve League, and it's going to be Slavia Mojir Reserves taking on Torpedo Belarus Jodinho, and that's their reserve team in a 6 a.m. showdown. Torpedo's minus 135 with the total at 3. Draws currently plus $3, and if you like Mojir in an upset, they're plus 250 on the money line and plus 105 catching the half goal. And speaking of Mojir, they're winless in their last 2 straight, including a 1-0 shutout defeat to FC Minx. They're also winless in their last 5 straight and scored just 1 goal in those 5 outings. They were shut out by Izlak, Rook Brest, and Dynamo Brest during that stretch. Meanwhile, Torpedo on the other side has been victorious in 2 out of their last 3, including an impressive 2-0 shutout of Bate Borisov. They also beat Rook Brest by the final of 3-2 during that stretch as well. Torpedoes dropped just 2 out of their last 7 and found themselves shutting out Vysshaya 1-0 during that stretch. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Torpedo's last 4 stayed under the total of 3 goals. 5 out of their last 7 also stayed under that total as well. Meanwhile, on the other side, Slavia's last 2 straight stayed under the 3 themselves. Just 1 out of their last 7 actually got over that number. Not a bad spot for an underplay here. Give me Torpedo Belaz, Jodinho, minus 135, and the under 3 goals in that contest. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Thursday or Friday to you, depending on when you're watching this. Best of luck to you, and I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.